When disaster strikes, the first thing people rush for is food. Shelves get emptied in hours. Neighbors turn into competitors, and fear spreads faster than the storm itself. But here's the part no one wants to admit. Food alone won't save you.
Think
What good is a pantry full of rice and beans if the power's out, the water isn't running, and the tools you depend on have gone silent? Survival is not just about calories, it's about how you use them, how you stay warm, how you stay safe, and how you stay alive when everything else collapses. And the truth is, the most valuable survival items aren't the flashy gadgets you see in prepper ads. They're not the overpriced gear in those doomsday kits online. The real lifesavers are the cheap everyday items already sitting in your home, things you probably tossed in a drawer without a second thought. But when the grid goes down, those forgotten items become priceless. In fact, they'll be worth more than food itself. And today, I'm breaking down 10 of these ordinary items that could be the difference between barely surviving and actually making it through. Let's start with one that almost everyone overlooks: plain white candles. When the power grid fails, darkness doesn't arrive slowly, it hits like a hammer. Cities fall silent, neighborhoods vanish into blackness, and panic begins. Most people will fumble for flashlights, only to discover dead batteries or uncharged lanterns. But the prepared ones? They'll light a candle. Not the fancy scented ones sitting on your coffee table, but plain, unscented utility candles. Cheap, reliable, always ready. The beauty of a candle is its simplicity. No batteries, no charging cords, no fragile electronics that break the moment they get wet. Just a flame and steady light, but a candle does more than light a room. In a small space, it can raise the temperature by a few degrees, a small but life-saving warmth in freezing nights. That faint glow is also silent. Unlike buzzing LEDs or roaring generators, candles don't broadcast to the whole block that you've got supplies. In survival, silence is safety. And here's something most people forget: candles are trade gold. When your neighbor is stumbling in the dark with a dead flashlight, one candle could be worth food, water, or even protection. Beyond that, wax itself is useful. You can seal containers, waterproof matches, or even patch small gear. Personally, I keep dozens of plain white candles in my kit, along with waterproof matches and lighters. Because when the world goes dark, a candle isn't just light, it's survival itself. Now let's move on to something you've probably thrown away 100 times without thinking twice. Empty plastic bottles. Today's trash, tomorrow's treasure. Right now they might just look like recycling, but in a crisis, an empty soda bottle or milk jug could save your life. Why? Because when clean water stops flowing, survival changes. Forget food, you can live weeks without it, but without water, you're gone in 3 days, maybe less. That's when plastic bottles become worth more than gold. They're lightweight, durable, and designed for food-safe storage. They let you carry, ration, and protect your most important resource. Fill them up before the taps run dry, and you've got a portable lifeline. But their value doesn't stop there. Cut one open, and suddenly you've got a funnel, a scoop, or even a tiny cooking container. Leave a bottle of water out in the sun for several hours, and you've got a natural purifier, thanks to the UV rays that kill harmful bacteria. That's not a trick, it's a real proven survival method. And just like candles, bottles carry trade value. In a desperate world, handing someone a gallon of clean water or a leak-proof container when they've got none makes you the most valuable person around. That one piece of trash can outmatch food in bargaining power. That's why I keep a stash of cleaned and dried bottles in my kit: 2-liter soda bottles, gallon jugs, smaller containers, all ready to go. They're free, they're everywhere, and they just might save your life. So let me ask you, next time you finish a soda or a jug of milk, are you really going to throw it away? Or will you keep it, knowing that one day it could be the most valuable thing you own? When the world shuts down, survival gets brutally simple. Machines stop, batteries die, and suddenly life turns manual. That's when most people freeze, helpless without their gadgets. But here's the twist: the person with a simple set of hand tools instantly becomes the most valuable person around. Think about it. When doors jam, hinges snap, containers leak, or pipes break, these aren't just annoyances anymore. They're survival threats. And no app, no machine, no call to customer support is going to save you. Forget the electric drills, circular saws, or anything that needs a cord. When the grid is dead, they're nothing but heavy junk. What you really need are the basics: a hammer, a wrench, screwdrivers, pliers, maybe a compact handsaw. Small tools, but big power. A screwdriver lets you access gear compartments or repair broken equipment. Pliers can tighten straps, pull out nails, or twist a wire into place. A handsaw? Suddenly that forgotten pallet becomes firewood, or even shelter. And a wrench, simple solid steel, can open gas valves, adjust pipes, or fix a broken wheel when your only ride out of town is falling apart. These aren't just tools, they're leverage. When your neighbor's roof is caving in, and you're the only one who can fix it, you're not just trading labor. You're trading safety, stability, and leadership. In a collapsed world, that's worth more than food. And let's not ignore the other side of survival. Defense. A claw hammer in desperate hands isn't just a repair tool, it's instant deterrence. Solid steel in your grip sends a message no one wants to argue with. My setup? I keep a compact roll with the essentials: a multi-bit screwdriver, needle nose pliers, a crescent wrench, a mini hammer, and a hacksaw blade. Nothing fancy, nothing heavy, but everything I'd need when things start literally falling apart. So ask yourself, when something breaks in the middle of chaos, will you be the one fixing it, or the one begging for help? Because here's the truth. In survival, the guy with food eats first, but the guy with tools, he gets invited into every camp. And that brings us to another survival essential that almost no one thinks about until it's too late. Your hands. In a collapse, your hands aren't just part of you, they are your lifeline. You're chopping wood, hauling debris, fixing gear, carrying supplies. Every task, every move depends on your grip. But here's the harsh reality: one bad cut, one deep splinter, or one broken finger could put you out of commission. And when there are no hospitals, no stitches, and no antibiotics, even a small wound can become deadly. That's why heavy-duty work gloves aren't optional. They're survival armor. Not the cheap cotton ones that rip the moment you touch something sharp, but thick reinforced gloves. Leather, rubber-coated, or even Kevlar-lined if you can get them. These gloves are built to take punishment, so your hands don't have to. Broken glass, jagged metal, splintered wood, things you'll face every single day in collapse. Without protection, each one is an infection waiting to happen. And it's not just cuts. In cold weather, gloves keep frostbite from stealing your grip. They keep your hands warm and functional when you're splitting firewood or building shelter in freezing air. Without them, hesitation creeps in. And in survival, hesitation kills. With gloves you act confidently, you grab, lift, and work without fear. That confidence is survival itself, and like everything else we've talked about, gloves have trade value. People will stock food in batteries, but when their hands are raw, bleeding, and useless, they'll trade almost anything for a solid pair of gloves. Personally, I pack 2 sets, heavy-duty leather for tough jobs, and rubber-coated for wet, slippery work. Both sealed in waterproof bags, ready when I need them. Because once your hands are gone, you're done. So here's the question: are you protecting your most important tool, or are you planning to survive with blisters and band-aids? In the end, your hands aren't just part of the fight, they are the fight. And only those who protect them will last. When the storm hits and the roof starts leaking, most people panic. The wind howls through broken windows, the rain pours in, and suddenly even the strongest walls don't feel like protection anymore. That's when one of the cheapest, most overlooked items becomes a survival game-changer: plastic sheeting. The kind most people buy for painting walls or covering old furniture. In collapse, that thin layer of plastic becomes the difference between exposure and safety. Here's the deal: thick 6mm plastic sheeting can do almost anything. Need emergency shelter? Stretch it over a frame, and you've got an instant roof. Got a window blown out in a storm? Tape it up, and the wind and rain stay outside where they belong. Power goes out in winter? Use plastic to seal off one room into a survival hot zone, trapping body heat so you don't freeze through the night. It doesn't stop there. Stretch plastic between trees, and you've got a rainwater collection system. Build a solar still with it, and suddenly dirty water becomes drinkable. Injured friend? A sheet of plastic works as a stretcher, a ground cover, even a sanitary barrier to keep blood and bacteria contained. Want to disappear from prying eyes? Black out your windows with plastic, and your home vanishes into the dark. And here's the kicker: no one thinks about plastic sheeting until it's too late. But when the storm rips through and you pull out a folded 9x12 sheet, suddenly you're the most prepared person in the neighborhood. Shelter, warmth, protection, water, all in one cheap, lightweight package. Personally, I keep 4 folded sheets in different sizes, 1 in my bug-out bag, 2 in storage, and 1 in my car. They weigh almost nothing and cost next to nothing, but in survival, their value is beyond measure. So ask yourself, when the rain comes pouring in, will you be dry or soaked, wishing you had thought ahead? Now let's move to another survival hero no one brags about, old towels and rags. That's right. The things stuffed in the back of your garage, the worn-out fabric you almost threw away last spring. In survival, those scraps of cloth become priceless. Why? Because collapse is messy. Mud, blood, broken gear, spills, sweat, sickness, it all piles up fast. And if you can't clean, dry, or absorb, you're in trouble. A towel isn't just for drying after a storm. When toilet paper runs out, a towel becomes reusable sanitation. Boil it, bleach it, reuse it. In first aid, towels step up as bandages, slings, pressure wraps, or padding for broken bones. Old cloth can be insulation in a sleeping bag, a draft blocker in a window, or even a makeshift pillow on a cold floor. Rags, they're just as critical. They wipe tools, clean cookware, wrap fire-starting kits to keep them dry, and even filter dirty water before purification. And here's what most people don't realize. Towels become trade gold. 2 weeks into collapse, when everyone's covered in grime and sickness is spreading, the guy with a clean, dry towel suddenly has power. People will trade food, gear, even safety just for the chance to wipe down and feel human again. That's why I keep 6 towels in my kit, 3 full-sized and 3 cut into rags, all vacuum sealed with bleach tablets. No fancy prints, no soft fluff. Just clean, absorbent fabric, ready to save a life. Because when everything gets filthy, the guy with a towel becomes the one everyone needs. And now let's talk about something tiny, cheap, and almost laughably simple, but in survival, it becomes the glue that holds everything together. Zip ties. Most people see them as nothing more than office supplies or toolbox leftovers. But when your gear breaks, your tarp rips, or your straps snap in the middle of a bug out, those little strips of plastic become lifesavers. In seconds, you can repair a pack, secure a tarp to a tree, reinforce a broken crate, or lash tools to your belt. Quick, quiet, and stronger than they look. In collapse, zip ties aren't just helpful, they're essential. Imagine this: you're deep in a survival situation. Gear is breaking, shelter is failing, and you've got seconds to act. What tool can fix, build, and even defend, all in the blink of an eye? Zip ties. These little strips of plastic are far more powerful than most people realize. Need to mount a flashlight? No problem. Want to build a quick shelter? Snap a few branches together, and you've got instant walls. In survival, speed is everything, and zip ties work faster than almost any tool you can carry. But they're not just about convenience, they can mean the difference between safety and danger. Imagine dealing with a looter, or someone threatening your camp. 2 heavy-duty ties around the wrists, and suddenly you're in control. Police and military use them for a reason. They buy you time, security, and the upper hand. The uses go on and on. Hang your food out of reach from scavengers, bundle heavy firewood, for easy carrying, or add makeshift handles to loads that are too awkward to lift. Got a leaky supply bucket, or a loose tarp? Zip ties seal and secure in seconds. They're like the Swiss Army knife of fasteners, replacing half your toolbox when you're on the move. Now think about trade value. Picture showing up at a camp where everyone's gear is failing. Tarps sagging, straps snapping, containers cracked. You pull out a pack of zip ties, and suddenly you're the most valuable person in the room. People will trade food, water, or even protection, just for the chance to fix what they've lost. In my own setup, I carry 3 sizes, 4-inch, 8-inch, and 12-inch. Over 100 ties in total, bundled tight and kept dry. Because when things break, the man with zip ties doesn't stop moving. He keeps building, fixing, and surviving. So ask yourself, when the world starts falling apart, will you be ready to hold it together, or are you just hoping nothing snaps? Now let's move to something almost everyone overlooks. Aluminum foil. Most people think it's just for leftovers or grilling. But in survival, that shiny roll of foil transforms into one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal. Lightweight, heat-resistant, and reflective. It's a survival game changer. Cooking without pots? No problem. Wrap food in foil, throw it straight into the coals, and you've got a hot meal without dirtying a single dish. It can be a frying pan, a baking sheet, or even a steaming pouch. No cleanup, no wasted water, just energy saved when every ounce matters.